Your whole goal as a beginner, as an intermediate, goodness, as a trader in general, is to continue to self-improve, like that 1% every time where you're getting rid of your bad trades, and you'll become self-aware. You're going to get to the point where you go, that is a bad trade. Objectively, it's a bad trade. And then you get to decide, do I exit it with us usually probably a small loss, or do I just hold on to it and hope and pray?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Anarchy Podcast. 99% of traders will never make consistent profits. So why listen to the 99% of advice? On this show, we're going to challenge some of the most hallowed and repeated tenets of trading, and in doing so, set you up to succeed where others fail. Spoiler alert, we don't have a secret strategy or magic wand that will let you skip out on the hard work of learning the markets, but we can debunk viewpoints that are holding you back. If that sounds good to you, come join us. So there's this really interesting phenomenon that Jordan and I have both run into recently, and we've actually also had some questions from you guys on this exact scenario. And it pops up. There's not a specific name for it, and Jordan and I have named it post-trade clarity. That this is where you take a trade, and all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, this is a horrible trade. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. And you get out of the trade right away. Or at least you're tempted to get out of the trade right away. We've both had this happen recently where we both took a trade. We didn't like how it looked the second we took it, and we both got out of it. And we had some questions from you guys who also had this happen. I'm sure if you've traded long enough, you've probably had this happen. And so we wanted to talk about it. I don't know whether we'll have anything concrete to give you guys, but it's a really interesting topic. One that probably the correct answer to this probably changes on your experience level, but we want to talk about it for us, for beginners, and whether it's ever okay to Jordan have post trade clarity and you take a trade and jump right out. We'll see what we come up with today, and what your thoughts are, Jordan. What's up?
Hey, nothing much, Levi. Just trying to kind of recover from yesterday. It was a bit of a crazy day. Should not have been trading, by the way, guys. When your kid slices his face open, don't trade. I misjudged my lot sizes. I thought I was trading Dow and ended up trading the NAS. And any of you guys who trade both of those know that there is a, like, what is it? It's at least double. Like you take a 10 lot trade
Huge.
on NAS, and yeah, there's a huge difference. So anyway, and then lost that. It was a disaster. But anyways, my kid got his face, walked into the bat. His brother was vigorously mopping, walked up behind him and took a mop stick to the face and slid his face open. It's got 3 or 4 stitches. So anyways, but he's doing well. He's doing well. And so I'm doing well. Excited to be doing this podcast. And yeah, I think it was yesterday, you and I, Levi, were talking about post-trade clarity, right? Because my trade rules say, listen, I can only take 3 trades per day. I took 4, and I explained it to my accountability group, aka Levi and my wife. We have a texting group that we kind of just use for mutual accountability on our trading. And I was like, listen, it shows 4 trades, but I closed the second one immediately because I took it and then knew I was just being an idiot, and I closed it immediately. And this is, I think, where we enter into a dichotomy, right? Because everything that we normally, I guess I would say, if you're a beginner trader, don't listen to this. Like, this is like, turn off the episode, right? But this is, now we're getting into, okay, a lot of you guys have been listening to us for the past year. You're getting to the point where you are more advanced. You can trust your instincts, and sometimes you're going to have to. And this is one of those times where I think we're going to talk about, it's okay to occasionally make exceptions, right? Like rules, if, as you said, Levi, if rules are all it takes to become a good trader and to be a trader, then we could automate it, right? But we can't. So I do think there's exceptions to the rules where, as you said, I think we've all done it. We take a trade and we immediately go, I'm a doofus. I'm an idiot. That's FOMO, something of the sort. I need to close this trade.
Yeah. Yeah, so we and this kind of flies in the face of the advice that I myself typically get, which my advice that I always tell newer traders is, you're pretty much always smarter before you take a trade, right? It's almost always the case. And this, I say this in
Yes.
context. The context I always say that in is whenever anybody wants to move their stop loss or, take profit early and stuff like that, the typical standard beginner stuff, you cut your winners short and you let your losers run. And you do that because you watch your trade and you get up in your head about it and you start screwing around with stuff when you shouldn't be. And it's almost always the case that the best advice for newer traders is, hey, stop screwing around with your trade after you take it. Just take your trade and leave it. And if you were right, you were right. If you're wrong, you were wrong. That's almost always the best advice for beginner traders, because beginner traders always mess around with their trades too much. But that said, we both had this happen recently where you can get in your head a little bit before also, where you have FOMO, or maybe you've been trading all day and you haven't seen a setup or something, or you can actually have this I guess anticipation and all this stuff in your head that you're thinking, you're over analyzing maybe. And the second you hit the buy or sell, something clarifies. All of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second, what am I doing? And all of a sudden it feels wrong the second you take it. And yeah, and you might be right. This might not be a episode for truly, green behind the ears type, beginning traders, but there is definitely and you might feel it where you're just all up in your head, and the second you take a trade, things clarify. And yeah, you had it happen. I had it happen reasonably recently, a couple weeks back, where I took a trade, it felt wrong, and I ended it. I actually would have ended up getting it if I'd held on, funnily enough. But I just took it I shut it down because the market was moving way faster and in way bigger moves than I typically take trades in. It was early in the day and news had just happened, and the market was just flying. And I took a trade and I was like, wait a second, man, market's moving way too fast. And it was just whipping around. And so I got out of it immediately. I just cut my loss. I actually took a small loss, but I was like, wait a second, I shouldn't be in this trade at all. It ended up going my way and I kind of kicked myself. But at the end of the day, I also knew, like, if I took 100 of those trades, I'd probably lose 50% or more of those trades. So it wasn't actually a good trade. And that's how I judge my trades, by the way. It's a good advice for beginners. Judge your trades on, hey, if I took that trade 100 times, would I be profitable? And so, yeah, for me, those moments don't happen very often, but typically it's because I take a trade that when the market is moving way too fast, or or I have way too tight of a stop loss or something like that. And I go, whoa, 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 I shouldn't be in this. And sometimes it saves me, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure how well this applies to really. Like, do you think giving this advice to truly beginning traders could potentially hurt them, though? Because that's what I'm a little bit worried about.
Yeah, well, it absolutely can't hurt people, right? Like, and that's why I say, like, if you're a beginner, probably just don't listen to the podcast. Like, it's the fact is, it's only once you know what your look is, once you know your psychology, though, you can start identifying that, and that intuition will save you, right? Because there's all times where we hop in a trade and you go, wow, I'm getting into that because I'm too afraid, or because you're going to become self-aware. And then that's, what is the key? And we mentioned this, Levi, I think a couple months back. What is the key to making sure that you're a successful trader? Well, it's not actually taking good trades, because we can all take good trades. It's eliminating the bad trades, right? And
Yeah.
okay, that sounds kind of, I don't know what kind of, uh, guru-ish to say, just eliminate the bad trades and then all the good trades. Master, I just watched Kung Fu Panda 4, by the way. So Master
Oh, nice.
finally ticked that one off. And did I watch it with my kids? Absolutely not. This was
Not.
a me only. This was a me night.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But I think of the Master Shifu saying, or you think of or you think of the
Way.
sayings that yeah, Master Oogway's sayings. And the fact is, once you eliminate the bad trades, all you have left is good trades. So your whole goal as a beginner as an intermediate, goodness, as a trader in general, is to continue to self-improve, like that 1% every time where you're getting rid of your bad trades, and you'll become self-aware. You're going to get to the point where you
Yeah.
go, that is a bad trade. Objectively, it's a bad trade. And then you get to decide, do I exit it with us usually probably a small loss, or do it because you've got spreads to deal with here, or do I just hold on to it and hope and pray? And let's be honest, I'd much rather hear you tell me on a coaching call, Jordan, I got into this trade and I got out of it because it didn't fit my, it didn't fit my look. There was FOMO. Like there's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as it
Yeah.
was like as long as it wasn't fear. If you're just getting out because of fear, not the right answer. But if it's for any other reason that you can tangibly explain, I think it's great.
Yeah, and as you trade more, also, you kind of get a feel for how you typically feel after a trade, after you take a trade. So that's one reason I think you and I are much more comfortable hopping out of a trade immediately, right? Because if you're, and again, it doesn't happen often because in the perfect world, you shouldn't take a bad trade. Like you shouldn't take a trade that's not right, right? But in the real world, it sometimes happens. And I take plenty of trades, a couple trades a day, and I know how I feel after I take a trade. I'll click buy or sell, and I just let it go and I kind of go do something else. But so there's those times where you take a trade and it just doesn't feel right. You took a trade and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, right? Holy
Yeah.
crap, what did I just do? Like, oh, the price is moving way too fast. Oh, I'm gonna like, and it just feels wrong. Like it just doesn't feel quite right. And so hopping out of that trade, I don't have a big problem with because I know what it feels like to take a good trade or take a trade that I'm happy with. So if I take a trade and all of a sudden I'm not happy with it, like I've traded enough where I'm comfortable to trust that feeling, right?
Right.
And this is why we have to be careful talking with people who haven't yet traded enough to develop that intuition. You will though, and eventually you will be able to trust your feelings. And then eventually, after you trade enough and take enough good trades, you can now go, okay, I know what it feels like to take a bunch of good trades. This trade doesn't feel that way. It feels wrong. It feels like I did something incorrect. It feels like I took too big of a risk, or my stop loss is way too tight, or I'm hopping into too hot of a market, or the look is wrong. You'll know when that feeling comes up, and you'll now be able to trust it, and in a way that you can now feel comfortable hopping out of a trade and getting out early and hopefully cutting some losses.
Yeah, and so I want to kind of add on to that, and it's a related but not the same question. Is we've gotten a couple questions from people recently asking if it's okay to enter into a trade right after you've gotten stopped out. And I know I mean, our snap answer is no, right? But is there an exception to that? Because I actually found myself doing this. I just did this last week as well, and won it, right? But again, just because you win something, folks, doesn't mean you should do it again. What are your thoughts
Right.
on that?
So my general rule for this is I will do it in the same. I used to have a rule against this, a rule completely. Hey, if I take a trade and I lose it,
Same here.
I can't just take a trade in the same direction until something significant has changed. I'm mostly in the same boat, but there are some exceptions. Like the one thing I won't do is if I lose a trade, I won't immediately just take the same trade. Like, yeah, I take a trade, some big wick goes up, knocks me out, and then comes back down. I won't just take the same trade. And the reason is I put my stop loss there for a reason, presumably, right? And so if I put my stop loss there, you what your stop loss is there for is to prove you wrong, right? So if your stop loss gets hit, that should be proving your initial hypothesis incorrect. I thought, you put your stop loss in a place where if it hits it, my initial hypothesis was proved wrong. And so if it is hit, then why are you taking the same trade? It was just proved wrong, right? It
Right,
was just
right.
something happened that was just proved wrong. On the other hand, so that's my general advice. I will never take a trade right away, at least.
Yeah,
If I take a trade, it knocks me out, and then it moves around and does some other price actiony stuff, right? Either
sure.
moves up and down, it consolidates for a while, it does some. Then sometimes I'll just get another look, and I'll take I'll take a trade at the same height or the same price, but
Right.
I typically try to wait for another look or another something to give me, confidence that I'm not just taking, because otherwise it's essentially doubling up on your same trade, which is
Yep.
it's literally the same as moving your stop loss further away, right?
Right.
You're taking the same trade, you lost it, and now you're going to double down on the losing trade. You're taking the
Yep.
same trade for a lose, and that's a problem, right? You shouldn't be doing that. My general advice would be for beginners, don't ever do it. If you're getting a little bit more advanced, just give us some breathing room. Like if you take a trade and you lose it, and you still think, you think price is going to go short, you take a short trade and you get knocked out.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of while to cook and give you another look that you think is going short, and now take that
Yeah.
trade. How close those two trades can be together, I don't have a specific rule for, but give it a little bit of time is my general advice.
Sure.
Don't know if
And
that
I
makes
think that,
sense.
yeah, no, I think that's wise advice. I mean, the fact is, and I tell this because this is, I mean, guilty as charged. The one thing that I do a lot and I still working on is the fact that I tend to feel like I have to take a trade now, right? Like, guys, the market is always there for you. You'll always have more trades, right? And so that's something just to, just remind yourself there's always more trades. You don't have to take a trade now. You don't have to take a trade within the next 10 minutes, right? Like it's always going to be there by your side. And all you have to do is be ready to, move once it happens. But it happens nearly, hundreds of times a day, right? Like you can always be making money in the market.
Yep. Yep. And that's why I like trading. I like trading shorter time frames because it actually gives me less FOMO, because if I miss a move, I'm like, I'll see plenty of other
Yeah, it's not.
moves, right?
Yeah, it's not like you're trading out of 4 hours. It's like, oh, I missed
Yeah,
my 4 hour
I
kick.
missed my once a month setup, right?
Yeah.
You can see plenty of looks, and some of the best advice I ever heard was, every moment in the market is a couple of good pieces of advice, which is one, every moment in the market is a moment you could make money. So that should lower your FOMO. It's like there's literally every moment. If you knew it was coming, you could make tons of money
Yeah.
off of.
Yeah.
Also every trade you take, every time you exit a trade, it's too late or too early. Like there's never a perfect exit. You're always going to exit too early or exit too late. So
Yeah.
just relax, right? Like you don't have to catch everything perfect. You don't have to catch every move. You don't have to take money. You don't have to be bummed that you took profit too early or took profit too late. There's no perfect trade. There's higher quality trades, and then there's lower quality trades, and our job is to get rid of the lower quality trades.